Here are two unique competition battles to watch out for in spring football. Is a true starting tight end going to emerge? Who's going to be the backup quarterback?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
There's a lot of upside in Miami's quarterback room. If certain players step up, it could be one of the deeper quarterback rooms in the country. I am Alex Donno, your host. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and writer for allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We are free wherever you get your podcasts. We're available free on YouTube, and we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. We continue to count down spring football. First practice is set for this coming Monday, March 4th at the Green Tree practice fields. We're going position group by position group. We're going to do two of them today, quarterback room and tight end room. We previewed the wide receiver room yesterday in 4 tiers. There's more bodies in the receiver room than there are at quarterback and tight end. For quarterback and tight end, we're going to be going tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. I'll talk about the hottest competitions, and I will give you my predictions on how the depth charts are going to play out. And just a note to everyone watching and listening to this, we're definitely going to revisit these after spring football is over, because there are certain players who have opportunities to rise up higher in my tiers and rise up higher in Miami's depth charts. Let's start with the quarterback room, which obviously got an injection of one of the most exciting players in the country. When Cam Ward in January decided to, instead of enter the NFL draft, which he had said he was going to do, he was going to stay in college. He was going to transfer to the University of Miami. What a boost that's going to be for the U, and what a boost it's already been for Miami's expectations. So Cam Ward, he sits alone in tier 1. One player in there. Can only be one quarterback on the field at one time. Cam Ward is tier 1. He is the veteran starting quarterback. He's going to be Miami's starter this year. Ward threw for over 3,700 yards last season at Washington State. 25 touchdowns to just 7 interceptions. He actually did, Cam Ward, he threw for more yards than any quarterback in the ACC did last year, including Drake May, who's off to be a high first-round draft pick, maybe number 1 overall. So, of course, Cam, he's in a tier all by himself at Miami. I don't believe there's going to be, a true competition for the starting job this year. So I think the bigger question would be, how does Cam Ward compare to other quarterbacks in the ACC? That's going to be fascinating to watch that play out. Now, Florida State fans would like you to believe that DJ Uiangalelei is better than Cam Ward. I've seen a couple of FSU content creators claim that. I don't know if they felt that way before they got DJ and not Ward, but the stats and the facts say otherwise, guys. Cam Ward last year, and he and DJ both played in the same Pac-12 last year. Ward threw for more than 1,000 yards more than DJ Uiangalelei did last season, and he beat DJ's team head-to-head. Washington State beat Oregon State head-to-head, and Ward outplayed DJ in that game handily. In that game, Ward threw for 404 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. DJ had 198 yards with a touchdown and an interception against Wazoo. So, yeah, I don't think I'm saying anything too crazy when I say I expect Cam Ward to be a better quarterback this year than DJ Uiangalelei. That doesn't guarantee you that Miami's going to be better than Florida State, but I think at the quarterback position, I give Miami the edge over Florida State, and I give Miami the edge at that position over every other team in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Other players that I look out for, and I do think DJ's all right. He's like he was a very good game manager. I think DJ's going to be pretty good at Florida State. Haynes King had a really nice season last year at Georgia Tech. He's back. That's someone to watch out for. You had some players transfer in. Like, I'm intrigued by Kyle McCord at Syracuse. It's not to say I think McCord is a world beater, but here's the thing. played meaningful football all of last year at one of the most prominent programs in the country. Like Kyle McCord, again, he wasn't really the reason why Ohio State went, 11-1, but he was along for that ride, and he did make some important plays for OSU last year. So I view Kyle McCord as more of a game manager, but it's going to be interesting to see what he does at Syracuse with his experience. I'm very high on Maalik Murphy, who transferred from Texas to Duke. Murphy is someone to watch. Miami's going to face him and former head coach Manny Diaz head-to-head this year at home. Cade Klubnik at Clemson, he's obviously talented. He's a former top recruit, but I would say he's been a disappointment overall up to this point. He made a terrible mistake, a few terrible mistakes in that game against Miami. So Klubnik has a lot to prove this year. So I think Miami on paper has the best quarterback in the conference. It's just up to Cam Ward to live up to that hype, and it's really up to his offensive weapons and his offensive coaches to help him maximize that. And this is a player. Cam Ward gives Miami an opportunity to win the ACC this year. I think he's that good. So he's tier 1. He's in a tier all by himself at Miami. Tier 2, this is the battle for QB2. And this is going to be, we talked about this a little bit with Brad Tejeda in our afternoon episode yesterday. Very intrigued to see if any of what I'm going to view as 3 guys battling for quarterback 2, if anyone truly emerges and looks heads or tails better than the other guys. Reese Poffenbarger, Jacurri Brown, Emory Williams. I'll explain why Emory Williams maybe should be in a tier by himself, but I'm going to put him in here in tier 2 for now. Miami, again, I think they have potentially one of the deepest quarterback rooms in the ACC. We'll start with Poffenbarger. New kid on the block, absolutely lit it up past couple years at Albany. We've seen plenty of examples of it. It's not like FCS quarterbacks are never successful in FBS. We've seen plenty of examples of FCS quarterbacks making a successful jump into the Power 5, including Cam Ward. Poffenbarger last year threw for over 3,600 yards, 36 touchdown passes, 13 interceptions. Poff is aggressive downfield. He's mobile. His game, if you look at his film, it reminds me a lot of a young Baker Mayfield. That's just sort of the style of play that Poffenbarger brings to the table, and I think he's going to be very prominent in this competition for the backup job. Jacurri Brown, he's a favorite of mine. He's a show favorite. I love how he wanted to stick around and compete, despite at this point he's not gotten a true opportunity to be a starter, whether it be Tyler Van Dyke the past couple of years or now Cam Ward. He still wants to stay and compete. Jacurri is big. He's powerful. He runs exceptionally well, and he's got a really strong arm. Jacurri, he just needs, I think, more experience to develop more consistency with his throwing accuracy, because he obviously, compared to Poffenbarger, he's at a disadvantage in just not having played in as many games. I know Poff was playing in FCS, but he's just got so much more experience than Jacurri Brown. We only saw Jacurri one time this season. It was in the bowl game, and I thought he did pretty well there. The last member of tier 2 for me is Emory Williams. Now, Emory, he makes my cut for tier 2, despite the fact that I think he's going to redshirt this year. But I put him in tier 2 because he showed me enough as a true freshman last year, especially in his 2 starts. He showed me that he can truly compete for the backup quarterback job if needed. I think Miami would prefer to redshirt him the way that they did Jacurri last year. But if for whatever reason, Poffenbarger and Brown just aren't stepping up, and if Emory just looks so good in practice, he's also coming off an injury. That's kind of another asterisk for him. I don't know how active he's going to be in spring, but Cristobal did say that he should be ready to play. So there's a couple of asterisks by Emory. But going back to what he did on the field last season, he showed poise and maturity when starting against the 2 toughest defenses on Miami's schedule. The 2 games that kid started last year, against Clemson and against Florida State, Miami beat Clemson, and he was a big part of that. Conservative for most of the game, but made some big time throws in the fourth quarter. He nearly helped Miami get somewhat close to an upset of Florida State. And if he hadn't had to leave the game with the broken arm, who knows what might have happened there. Tyler Van Dyke ended up throwing an interception, his signature move. He threw the interception to kind of seal that win for Florida State last year. So tier 3 for me. It's a one-man tier, but I like this guy a lot. But it's the rookie, right? Because Judd Anderson, to me, a lot of bad things would have to happen for him to get any starts next year. Okay. So Judd, there's a lot of good to work here for the future. 6'7" with excellent mobility for a guy his size. He's not a 6'7" statue. Well-rounded athlete, plays basketball as well. And Judd had an awesome senior year of high school in Georgia at Warner Robins. Threw for just under 3,000 yards last season, 30 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. He also rushed for 3 touchdowns last season. So Judd, I think can, for him, this is a developmental year. Learn and practice. He's enrolled early, learn throughout spring football, learn throughout fall camp, learn from Cam Ward and company. And, maybe 2025 or 2026, more likely he can start, potentially competing to be the starting quarterback. So my prediction for the quarterback position, not too surprising. I've got Cam Ward as my starting QB1. And folks, this is going to make some people angry. And I know I'm going to get some comments on this, but until proven otherwise, I'm going to pencil in Reese Poffenbarger as the guy I handicap as slightly more likely to win the backup job. And I say this primarily because of his experience. We'll see if JB can prove me wrong. And I wouldn't mind if he does, believe me. Let the competition begin. But I think if I were going to handicap this like a Las Vegas casino, I would put slightly better odds for Poffenbarger than I would for Jacurri Brown to be the backup quarterback. And again, I think Emory Williams is probably going to redshirt. So I can't wait to revisit this one, right? After the spring game on April 13th, we will revisit the quarterback room. Am I still sticking with Poffenbarger as number 2, or have I changed to Jacurri as number 2? Tight end position is fascinating. I'm going to do something I haven't done yet in terms of my tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I might shock you because this is a position that had shockingly little production in the passing game last season. Can Miami become tight end U again? We're only getting started, folks. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I know you're keeping it locked to Game Time because, guys, the Game Time app is the best place to buy tickets to your favorite sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, especially last-minute tickets. Buying last-minute tickets should not be stressful. You're getting some of the best deals last minute at Game Time. Guys, they've got the best deals on upcoming Miami Heat games, Heat against Jazz on Saturday, Florida Panthers against the Montreal Canadiens tomorrow night. That's always a hot ticket down here. Upcoming Inter Miami against Orlando City. Guys, check out the amazing deals you're getting on the Game Time app. You're getting all-in pricing. They're not going to tag on those hidden fees at the end where you're like, oh, I think I'm getting a $14 ticket. Now it's a $30 ticket. Nothing like that. All-in pricing. Views from your seat. You're going to see exactly what you're going to see from your seat on Game Time. And guys, the last minute deals and the flash deals are amazing. And they have something called the Game Time Guarantee. The Game Time Guarantee means if you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app and use our code Locked On, all one word, Locked On, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thank you so much for making the spring football preview episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We are available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're available free on YouTube. And for the YouTubers out there, make sure you're watching Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's now available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day from the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows that cover every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now, available on the free Fire TV channels app. All right, let's talk about the tight ends. And as we've been doing, we talked about wide receivers yesterday, tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. Quarterbacks already today, tier 1, 2, and 3. For tight end, do you know who's in tier 1 for me? Nobody. Nobody makes tier 1 until further notice. Couple of reasons. Reason number 1, the position, unfortunately, was now, I do want to give these guys, because I'm not just a ball watcher who's like, it's only about stats and receptions. I get it. Tight end room was very involved in blocking last year. I get it. But they were so uninvolved in the passing game. That's one of the reasons why there's not a tier 1 for me right now till further notice. And the other reason why there's not a tier 1 for me is no one really separates themselves, right? Usually when I do tier 1s, it's like I've got clear starters. Like yesterday, wide receivers, I've got 2 clear starters in Jacoby George and Xavier Restrepo. They're my tier 1s. Cam Ward is my tier 1 at quarterback. I've got no tier 1 at tight end because I need somebody to emerge. So tier 2, these are the contenders to be the starting tight end. And I'm going to put 3 players in tier 2. Cam McCormick, Elijah Arroyo, and Riley Williams. Cam McCormick, as you know, is back for his 9th collegiate season. And he's the one who started most of Miami's games last year. He was pretty reliable as a blocker, and no one else was reliable from an injury standpoint last year. So McCormick started most of the games. Now, I hope this year McCormick is more of a depth piece, and, with his experience and wisdom, maybe he slides into more of a Udonis Haslem type of role on this team. So while he's a very capable blocker, I think the other guys in tier 2 for me, Elijah Arroyo and Riley Williams, these guys are more well-rounded, and they can potentially add a lot more to the passing game than McCormick does. So I believe Elijah Arroyo, his combination of skills and experience, because he's been around a couple years longer than Riley has. I believe Arroyo's combination of those things, I think that makes him the best overall tight end on the team when healthy. But up to this point, Arroyo hasn't been able to stay healthy. I think he is healthy right now. Now, Riley Williams, to me, he's the guy with the highest ceiling out of those 3. He got more playing time than expected last year because of all the injuries, which was good for him to build experience. I think it's time for him to take it to the next level. And, Riley Williams, for what it's worth, was the only Miami tight end to score a touchdown last year. So I believe that McCormick, Elijah Arroyo, Riley Williams, none of them are tier 1 for me, at least not yet. And those are going to be the 3 guys who compete to be the day 1 starter. So then you have tier 3, which are the players who are going to be battling for playing time. I don't think either of them will start, but both potentially could get on the field. That's Jackson Carver, who's entering his 2nd year, and Elijah Lofton, who's the true freshman out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. Now, Carver was a little bit more raw coming in last year than Williams was. They both came in same recruiting class last season, but Carver, he's got enough potential where you look at a lot of his recruiting projections coming out of high school, and everyone had the consensus of this guy is a potential Power 5 starter in the future. So he's got that sort of potential. Carver certainly has the height. 6'6", like Riley Williams is also 6'6". Carver's 6'6". He's got a multi-sport background. He's also played hockey and lacrosse at a very high level. And maybe part of that was a little bit behind on football because he was, focusing on so many other sports. But the ability is there for Carver. Didn't get on the field much last year. Maybe he can this year. Very good ball skills as a receiver. And then, this may sound a little crazy, maybe not, for those who follow recruiting. But despite the fact that he's a year behind, I think Elijah Lofton might get on the field more than some of the other names we mentioned, including Jackson Carver. Elijah Lofton, first-year guy out of Bishop Gorman, powerhouse program. He comes in with enough polish to me to get on the field immediately. And he's been rocking the offseason workout so far. So what makes Elijah Lofton so valuable is that he has no weak points as a tight end, right? You talk about certain guys, well, this one's a really good receiver, maybe not as good of a blocker, and vice versa. Elijah Lofton, I can't wait to see what his grades are going to be on the EA Sports video game. He's going to be like, I don't know, like an 80 overall, maybe in the 70s because he's a freshman, but he's going to be like pretty high in all the tight end categories. So Lofton, excellent blocker, solid receiver, intelligent player and playmaker, and versatility. He can also line up at fullback or at tailback. Very mature prospect coming out of high school. And this is something Brad Tejeda, who we had on yesterday afternoon, shouted out Lofton as well as someone who could end up getting on the field quite a bit as a true freshman. Like we kind of put him in the same category that we put JoJo Trader in at receiver, or, Justin Scott at defensive tackle, that guys who, won't necessarily start, but could actually make a pretty immediate impact and get on the field a lot. So my prediction for the tight end position, tight end 1, first game of the year. I think my safe prediction is going to be Elijah Arroyo. The caveat is he's got to get through spring and fall camp healthy. And you can't imagine how much I'm rooting for this kid because he's lost the vast majority of the last 2 seasons due to nagging injuries. So he seems healthy right now. Elijah Arroyo, to me, again, the combination of skills and experience for him, more well-rounded, I think, than Cam McCormick, and just a little bit, ahead of Riley Williams in terms of just his overall experience out of high school. I'm going to go with Elijah Arroyo as my pick to be the starting tight end. Now, for tight end, when you're going 2, 3, 4 on the depth chart, it's going to be all situational who gets in when. But I think the guy who's going to be tight end 1 lined up there to start the season, I'm going to go with Elijah Arroyo as being the safe pick for that. So another thing we can talk about is, especially since we're talking about Elijah Arroyo there's a handful of players. When I'm out there March 4th, Monday, first spring practice, finally it's here. When I'm out there, I'm going to be looking as to whether certain players, are they present? Are they, wearing braces and slings? Are they working off to the side? Because again, Miami gives up, and I don't blame them for this. They give up precious little injury information, because again, medical privacy, they don't have to put everybody's business out there. But, certain guys, you hear kind of buzz and stories behind the scenes about how they're doing and how healthy they are. And we don't really know for sure. So I'm going to give you when we come back. When I go out there, practice number 1 on March 4th, I'm going to be looking to see whether certain players are participating in team drills. Are they looking healthy? We'll talk about who those are. Plus, a couple of recruiting nuggets, courtesy of 24/7 Sports. 2 very prominent class of 2025 running backs have locked in official visits with Miami this summer. We're not done yet, folks. You want to keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. We're having so much fun on FanDuel. Betting games, winning money, living and dying in those moments. It's so much fun, guys. You want to check it out and see what all the fun is about. If you're into wagering on basketball games, it's obviously NBA, March Madness coming up. You want to get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. And for the everydayers, you want to take that everydayer experience to the next level? Join our exclusive texting community called Locked On Canes Insiders. I include a link in the show description below. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours and vice versa. You can ask me one-on-one questions, give you guys breaking news, recruiting scoops, show previews. I'll be asking the insiders today, by the way, what position groups do you want us to break down next? We got the wide receivers broken down before spring football, quarterbacks and tight ends today. I was thinking of maybe we finish the week out on offense. I was thinking about offensive line and running backs tomorrow. But if you'd prefer, me to take a look at some defense, maybe look at the coaching as well, let me know what position groups do you want to hear about next. And if you want to try out Locked On Canes Insiders, you can try it free for 14 days. Just click the link in the show description below. Then if you like it, after 2 weeks, you can opt in. We give you a lot of added value there for $4.99 a month. So players that I'm going to be looking for, spring practice number 1, are they working with the team? Are they off to the side? I'm pretty confident that a lot of these guys are back healthy. I'll be looking for Samson Okunlola. Now, the word that I get indicates that his injury was not that serious, and I think he's okay now. And I hope he's okay because Samson Okunlola, former 5-star recruit at offensive tackle, this guy's good enough that if he's fully healthy, he could potentially win a starting job on that offensive line. There's going to be a competition for the starting left guard, or, it's not impossible they could kick Jalen Rivers inside and have somebody else take over at left tackle. So there could be an opportunity. He'll be competing with the likes of Matthew McCoy and Tommy Kinsler, but there could be an opportunity for Samson Okunlola. And I'm of the belief that he's fully recovered now, but I'm going to be looking for him practice 1. I'll be looking for Elijah Arroyo because, like I said before, Arroyo is probably Miami's starting tight end if he can put the injuries behind him. So will he be a full go in spring practice? We will find out. I'm definitely going to be looking for Trevante Citizen. Jacurri Citizen at running back. When we preview the running backs, we'll talk a lot about him. We get word that he is completely healthy now. But again, I want to see it with my own eyes, and I want to see if he can rediscover that burst and those cuts that he had before his knee injuries. And, with, a guy that I don't think I have to look for because I don't think he's going to participate in the spring at all, with Mark Fletcher likely to miss, the entirety of spring football. Trevante Citizen has an opportunity. He can take some of Fletcher's, would-be reps and really have a chance to shine in the spring. So I'm definitely going to be looking for him as well. And I'll be looking for Zion Nelson. I don't know. People ask me about him every day. I don't know. I have no idea what the future holds for Zion at Miami. As far as I know, he's still on the team. I will be looking for him. And you know what? If Zion can be completely healthy, that's another guy. If he's, healthy and back, he could compete for a spot as well. So those are the ones I'm going to be looking at. Shout out to Gabby Urrutia at Inside the U for dropping these nuggets. A pair of running backs that Miami loves have locked in their official visits. Both players we've talked about this week, by the way, on the show. Seffner, Florida, Armwood High, 3-star running back Girard Pringle Jr., who I know our new running backs coach really likes. Matt Merritt really likes Pringle. And, this is a player who's been liked by every running backs coach, and that's Alvin Henderson, 4-star out of Alabama. So Pringle, he's locked in his visit for the weekend of June 14th. That's an official visit, weekend visit. Alvin Henderson has locked in his visit for June 21st. Now, an important note for both of these players, not only do they have their OVs locked in, they're going to be taking unofficial visits as well throughout spring football. And I think Pringle, I'm going to be looking for him on Monday. I think Pringle's going to be out for day one. So I'll be looking. And by the way, if you missed the conversation that I had with Brian Smith, who scouted Girard Pringle in person, if you missed the conversation that we had, you'll be blown away. Like Brian told me, I don't know why this guy is only a 3-star. He had a really tough game last year against Venice, which is one of the powerhouse high schools on the other coast of Florida. And he rushed for 300 plus yards in that game. Like this guy was putting up not as fast as lightning. I think Gabby wrote down his 100-meter time. So he's got a, what is his number here? I know he 10.56 in the 100-meter. That's really good. That was his personal best he set this past weekend. So Pringle's got breakaway track speed. Alvin Henderson is a fantastic back as well. Out of Alabama. He's wanted by Auburn, Florida State. I would imagine Bama probably wants him as well. He's going to be on campus March 28th for an unofficial, and then he's going to have that official visit on the 21st. And there's other running backs Miami is interested in. Byron Lewis out of American Heritage. He's already been crystal balled to Miami. Miami's interested there. Miami is interested with Mississippi-based running back Ackle, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. Ackland Deer, Miami is interested as well. He's probably going to come for an unofficial in April. So running back recruiting, Matt Merritt, new running backs coach, is putting in the work, and they are churning that out, my friends. All right, folks, by the way, for those who are watching this before noon, I'm going to be on at noon. I'm going to be on the Life Wallet Sports Twitter Spaces with my guy Gio Milian. I'm going to be on with him. We're going to be talking spring football, answering questions, and then Gio's going to return the favor. He's going to be on Locked On Canes tomorrow. So I'm going to be on with Gio in their Twitter Spaces or X Spaces today around noon until around 1:15, and then Gio is going to be on with us tomorrow morning on Locked On Canes. So a lot of good stuff. Gio does a fantastic job, as you probably know. So we will talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.